Hi Aditi.
Hi, Kathakali.
It's lovely to have you in our city, and it is wonderful that the Pickle Factory Season 2 is going to be opening with your performance tomorrow on the 1st of November at the G.D. Birla Sabhagar. And I think the city is very excited. The dance lovers of the city are very excited to have you here. It's not very often that you come to Kolkata. It's wonderful to have you. And
It's wonderful being here. I'm also very excited, and so is my entire team. Thank you to the Pickle Factory organizers and Vikram Iyengar for this amazing opportunity. We all love performing in Calcutta. I think there's the dance lovers have a very open mind and at least are very enthusiastically look forward to things that may be different from their own way of looking at dance.
Aditi, do you think the city is very vibrant in terms of culture? Because it used to have this tag of being the cultural capital of the country, but it has, there have been reviews of that tag in the recent past. So what do you have to
Well,
say about
exactly as you say, what does a cultural capital mean is when there is a sense of aesthetics and a sense of music and dance and poetry and literature that is part of your growing up experience. So this is very much something that we all over the world have heard about. And yet at times it ebbs. Yeah. However, I've personally had a very good interaction with the audience in Calcutta, and I'm really excited and nervous of the performance tomorrow. But it's always energizing to dance here, and that's, I think, very important.
Right, and you did mention that Calcutta was open to new things. So, what exactly has your experience been in that?
Well,
context?
most of the work that I have done here, I mean, most of the performances have been my classical work. And as far as my contemporary work is concerned, I think we've only brought a very old piece once. However, what I feel is that Kathak, as you know, has been danced, what they say, khula dance. And for years I felt that that's very uninteresting for me. It's not something that arouses my curiosity or wonder. And I think wonder is something that needs to be alive at every moment of a performative experience. Because if you're going to hold the audience by their hand and literally drag them along the path, leave nothing to imagination, completely give out every single thing that's information. अब ये देखिए, अब वो देखिए, अब हम इस ताल में कर रहे हैं, अब धा की जगह देखिए, 25 चक्कर देखिए. So is it nicer to just say 25 chakkar dekhiye, or is it more interesting that you do those 25 turns and evoke in the audience a resonance of maybe a time when they first fell in love, or maybe a time of great turbulence, or maybe a time where everything went in their lives, right? So it's nicer to leave things with a comma so that the audience who come in with varied experiences can take something back with them. So I feel that, and therefore the work becomes choreographed because it's not khula anymore. And what is extempore lies in a different part of the dance rather than just within the layakari.
The typical improvisation
The
of
typical
Kathak,
improvisation of Kathak, I feel is mistakenly thought of only in layakari. Only in the fact that अब मुझे तो पता ही नहीं है, मैंने तो म्यूजिशियंस के साथ रिहर्सल किया ही नहीं है, अभी पहली बार हम लोग मिल रहे हैं, which is amazing in terms of the actual thought that two creative artists suddenly jam together and create something on the spot. But that happens momentarily, and that can also happen in myriad different ways, through the word, through the body, through experiences, through thought processes, not merely through rhythmic permutations and combinations.
Right. So here we are talking about a very classical form which you are using in your own way, perhaps leaving your mark on the tradition. There's T.S. Eliot's famous essay which is called Tradition and the Individual Talent, where I think he's specifically talking about this. How is it that you use, in what way do you deconstruct your form? If you could just talk a little bit about that, how you use it in a contemporary fashion.
Well, I don't deconstruct because I dance Kathak every single day of my life. Most of my work is in the broader parameters of the Kathak classical form. I have only taught Kathak. The company only consists of Kathak dancers. But there are two journeys that I have taken very specifically. One is what I call sowing the seed of Kathak and watering it with Kathak sensibilities, the broader parameters of always pushing the edge slightly, all the time, not being content with what was written maybe a couple of thousand years ago or what has been codified, but trying to find that energy, the Kathak energy from within, from one's own life experiences. The other, I would call it contemporary dance based on Kathak, and that's mostly where you water the seed. The seed is of Kathak, but you water it with contemporary sensibilities, contemporary movement, contemporary thought, inspirations. So the tree that grows out of it is, though rooted very much in the classical tradition of Kathak, eventually has a very different form and structure and feel, and it reaches out in a very different way. So that's what I'm dancing tomorrow. Is classical Kathak, and called Immersed, and it's looking at Krishna. Now,
I was going to come to
yes,
that.
okay. Have I preempted the question?
That's
Sorry.
fine. Please carry on.
So, I'm not a Hindu. I'm not a Muslim. I don't belong to any structured religion. There is a wonder of life, of humanity, and I grew up questioning my parents, my guru Srimati Kumudini Lakhya, and later on Pandit Birju Maharaj. But as growing up, they encouraged debate, they encouraged questioning. And so though I grew up in a Hindu household, we were never brought up in a particular, and yet stories of Krishna were everywhere. You grew up with them. The most fascinating episodes. The inspiration has been in literature, architecture, music, poetry, dance, what have you. So how do you enter this persona and don't consider that persona as God? And so for me, it was interesting to find a way into it where I made that persona into life itself. And therefore, with Shubha Mudgal and Anish Pradhan, we tried to find text that would let me enter it from a different perspective. So we start off initially with all the names of Krishna, And I say, look, how can even God be all this? Only life can be all this. Only experiences of life of each human being can be so varied and multidimensional. And if you are life, then you must be breath, because that is what governs me, and therefore always be at the edge of my being, because without breath, that life is gone. So there was a beautiful Vandish by Bhartendu Harishchandra, which is Savare Chhelare Nain ki ot na jana. But so it works off as, do not leave me, always be at the edge, this system of breath. And then we found more poetry, which was really beautiful. Aage Krishna, Pache Krishna, Ita Krishna, Uta Krishna, Jita Dekho Tita Krishna Mai. So these are very classical bandishes, but to look at it as not a god or a human being or one man or one woman, but as life itself. So surround me. Let me partake of everything that you throw up, life throws up, experiences throw up. And eventually, if I accept that this is life, then this is death too. And so that becomes part of the whole experience. And therefore, this other very beautiful bandish, Aore Piharva, that come. I have to accept it. Death is part of that entire existence. So that's how I found my way into the mythology, this many storytellings, many things that I grew up with. You know, and there was a mandir in my house, so I grew up listening to the aarti happening in the morning. So how do you work on that beautiful sense of incense and beautiful sense of the resonance of the manjira? Where does it? That doesn't mean I may use the manjira. It's just how.
It's within you.
Yeah. Now whether it reflects that way or not, yeah, I don't know. But that was the way that I got into Immersed.
Okay, so Krishna as a construct is a much bigger thing to you than just a god.
Yes.
A god,
yes,
with his ways,
with his ways,
philandering ways too.
And for that, I think I would like to mention here that, you know, we talk of we talk against how men feel entitled. You know, that they're entitled. There's this sense of entitlement that we can do this. We can, you know, this whole Me Too movement. Now, some of it is inherent in our classical forms. Yeah, and we don't look at that. We celebrate that as classical dancers. And I find that more and more, sometimes without realizing it. I mean, I used to always struggle with categorizing of women, like the Naika, okay, Ashtanaikas. I'm not a satellite. I would love to dress up for a man. I'm sure I may feel jealousy and all these human emotions. But it's not only that this entitled person is in the center of the universe and I'm constantly a rotating satellite, object around it. So, growing up, this was always because at home that was not the situation. We were given, as a girl child, I was given equal opportunities as my brother. My guru, Kumimen, did not prescribe to this thing. And yet, the whole classical tradition, there was this, you know, this is what we learned. Ye naika, wo naika. It's beautiful but there is million naikas. I'm not supposed to be boxed into 8.
Fit into one.
Or some other categories, constantly categorized. Much later, this whole thing of chhed-chhad in Kathak, what does that mean? It's frightening now that I look back.
Absolutely.
And it's frightening, and to be honest, tomorrow the piece has one or two instances of that, and it's because it's so inherent in our so I'm in a way finding ways of there's nothing wrong in flirting as long as it's two ways, but this entitlement,
Consensual.
yes, and chhed means no is yes.
Yes.
We are
Absolutely.
constantly giving that message, you know, that dagar chalat sham kar gaiya. When I was walking, he stopped my way. When he pulled my dupatta. It's constantly reinforcing that it's okay to do that.
Mhm.
We are dancing this
Yeah.
constantly, you know,
And in a way validating it.
validating it, and in a way celebrating it, validating it, adding to the glory of it. So how do we find ways out of it? And honestly, it took a while. I was uncomfortable doing it, but I was uncomfortable doing it because I thought it was I'm talking about my growing up years. I thought it just constantly categorized me, but I didn't think of this entitlement
Mhm.
that I, with my own dance, was giving this like a stamp. Yeah, it's
On
fine.
it. On this.
Yes, it's okay to do it.
On this whole idea.
Yeah. It's okay to bother me. I'm going down, I'm going for some work that I do, filling water,
Mhm.
okay, carrying these heavy pots on my head. That was a work, that was part of a woman's work process, maybe. And it was being hampered and stopped and celebrated that it was stopped.
Mhm.
And it was taken as pranks.
Yeah.
But after a while, a prank becomes extremely objectionable,
Mhm.
but we are still celebrating it. So, what happens to that? And yeah, so we have to find ways of celebrating not chhed, but consensual desire. We don't celebrate that desire. We are, in fact, my new work, which is solo, and it's my first contemporary dance based on Kathak solo. So it's about female desire. And why is it that all cultures, for time from ever,
Mhm.
is scared of female desire?
Desire.
You know, why is it that we are categorized as maybe an icon or a goddess or a prostitute or a tawayaf, but not a normal,
Not as a woman.
no, not as a normal woman
Normal woman.
who expresses her desires. And our mythologies reinforce that. It in small little anecdotes which seem so subtle, but this is, you know,
Instilled.
instilled.
Constantly.
If you do this, see, this is the result. If you do that, if you ever dare to look at somebody, look what will happen to you. So it gets reinforced from childhood, because these are great epics, no doubt, great pieces of literature that have to be taken as written in a particular time, written by a particular gender, written over hundreds of years and many permutations and combinations. They are not, I want to write my own mythology.
Mhm.